Unit 4. Unit 4. Good evening. Welcome in RNQ is classes block number 1, unit number 4, the philosophy of Buddhism. 4.0 objective. The unit of the philosophy of Buddhism introduces the main philosophical notions of Buddhism. It gives a brief and comprehensive view about the central teachings of Lord Buddha and the rich philosophical implications applied on it by his followers. This study may help the students to develop a genuine taste for Buddhism and its philosophy, which would enable them to to carry out more riches and study in it. Since Buddhist philosophy gives practical suggestions for a virtuous life, this study will help on to improve the quality of her life and the attitude towards his or her life. 4. Introduction. Buddhist philosophy and doctrines based on the teachings of Gautama Buddha give meaningful insights about reality, human existence. Buddha was primarily an ethical teacher rather than a philosopher. His central concern was to show man the way out of suffering and not constructing a philosophical theory. Therefore Buddha's teaching lays great emphasis on the practical matters of conduct which lead to liberation. For Buddha, the root cause of suffering is ignorance, and in order to eliminate suffering we need to know the nature of existence. Also, Buddha insisted that all those who accept his doctrines were accepted only after rigorous reflections, and only after all doubts and perplexities are overcome. Here, the philosophical implications of Buddha's teaching must be taken into serious consideration. The philosophical system of Buddhism does not assume a systematic form. We can't make a sharp distinction between the philosophical, religious, and ethical notions of Buddhism. The reason behind is it that the philosophical notions were developed in the background of ethical and religious notions. We may find many overlapping ideas from the previous chapter. Buddhism as religion, such as the noble truths, the eightfold path, the doctrines of soul, the doctrines of karma, etc. All these imply profound philosophical insights as they imply great religious insight. 4.2 The Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths are the most important principles of Buddhism. We need to take into serious account these principles whatever we speak about Buddhism as a religion or Buddhist philosophy or any other serious study of Buddhism. Here only a brief description of the Four Noble Truths is given to start our study on the philosophy of Buddhism. The Four Noble Truths are explained in detail in chapter Buddhism as a religion. We may have to refer back to the portion there for more details. The Four Noble Truths of Buddhism as follows: life is full of suffering, dukkha. According to the first noble truth, all forms of existence are subject to suffering. For Buddha, it is a universal to all known and unknown fact and forms of life associated with the suffering, birth, sickness, old age, death, anxiety, desire, and despair. Despite all such happenings and feelings are based on suffering. Buddhism recognizes suffering at three levels, such as the suffering we experience in our daily life, like birth, sickness, old age, death, disappear, pain, desire, etc. Dukkha, suffering caused by the internal mental conditions and the activities of the sense organs. Samkara, Dukkhata, and the suffering caused by the impermanence of object and our relations of them. Viparinama Dukkhata. Suffering has a cause, dukkha samudaya. Everything in this cosmos has a cause, and nothing exists and happens without a cause. If this is the case, suffering should also have a cause. Buddhism explains suffering through a chain. of 12 causes and effects, commonly known as the doctrine of dependent origination, pratitya sampada. In the final analysis, the root of all miseries in desire, tanha. Desire is all pervasive desire for possessions, enjoyment, and separate individual existence are some of the virulent forms of desire. Cessations of suffering, dukkha nirodha. In suffering has a cause, the seeker has to destroy this cause. To stop suffering, to desire has to be extinguished. To stop suffering, nirvana is the state of being without suffering. It is the state of supreme happiness and bliss. Ways to destroy suffering, dukkha nirodha marga. The ways to destroy suffering consist of the practice of the eightfold virtue, such as right view, right aspirations, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right awareness, and right concentration. In the practice of all these virtues, one has to avoid extremes and follow the middle path. 4.3, the Eightfold Path in Buddhism. The Eightfold Path is the practical application of the Four Noble Truths. They are also closely connected to the Fourth Noble Truth as means of distress suffering. Following are components of the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. Right view, samaya dristi. It consists of the graph and acceptance of the Four Noble Truths, rejections of the false doctrines, and avoidance of immorality resulting from covetousness, lying, violence, etc. Right aspirations, samayika sankalpa. It implies thought and in renunciation, thought and friendship and goodwill, the will and thoughts on non-harming. Right speech, samayaka vas. It inspires on and speak truth primarily, and to speak gently and soothing words for a benefit and well-being of others. It has promulgates one to avoid falsehood, slander, harsh words, and gossip. Right karma, samayaka karma. The Buddha intends by night karma the practice of five moral vows, namely non-violence, ahimsa, truthfulness, satya, non-telling, asatya. Right livelihood, Samak Aziba. It consists of the avoidance of the luxurious life and the acceptance of occupations which do not involve currently and injury to the living. Begins the Buddha exhorts to avoid occupations like sale, alcohol making, and selling weapons, professions of the soldier, butcher, fisherman, etc. Right efforts, Samaka Bhayama. It includes the efforts of avoid the rays of evil and false ideas in false ideas in the mind, the fight of overcome evil tendencies, the effort of acquire positive values like attention, energy, tranquility, equanimity, and concentrations, and the efforts of maintain the right conditions for a meritorious life. Right awareness, Samayaka Smriti. It represents the awareness of the body breathing, positions, movements, impurities of the body, etc. Awareness of sensations, attentive to the feelings of oneself and of the other, awareness of thought and the awareness of the internal functions of the mind. Right concentration, samayaka samadhi. The practice of one pointed contemplation leads the seeker to go beyond all sensations to pain and pleasure and finally to full enlightenment. It happens in four levels. Four levels is the first level. So through intense the meditation seeker concentrates the mind and truth, and thereby enjoys great bliss. In the second level, the seeker enters into supreme internal peace and tranquility. In the third level, the seeker becomes detached even from the inner bliss and tranquility. In the fourth level, the seeker is liberated even from the sensation of the bliss and tranquility. tranquility. The first two of the Eightfold Path, namely right view and right resolve, are together called prajna because they are related to consequences and knowledge. The third, fourth, and fifth, namely right speech, right conduct, and right livelihood, and collectively known as sila, because they daily with the correct and morally right way of living. The last three, namely right effort, right awareness, and right concentration, are collectively known as samadhi because they deal with meditation and contemplation. 4.4, the doctrine of dependent originations, pratitya samutpada. The doctrine of dependent originations is central to Buddhist philosophy and is connected to the second noble truth. Suffering has a cause, dukkha samudaya. According to Buddhism, everything in this world has a cause. There is a cycle of 12 such causes of corresponding effects which governs the entire life of human beings. It is called bhavakakara, the cycle of the existence. This universal laws works automatically without the help of any consequence. Guide this doctrine is the main principles in Buddha's teachings. Other notions such as the doctrine of karma, the theory of momentariness, and the theory of non-soul are based on this doctrine. Pratitya Samutpada is a middle path between Savadvada, the principle of eternity, and Uchabheda, the principle of annihilation. According to Satvada, some things are eternal, uncaused, and independent. According to Uchabheda, nothing remains after the destructions of things. By maintaining a middle way between both those principles, Pratitaya Samutpada holds that things have existence but they are not eternal and they are not annihilated completely. The 12 links of Pratitaya Samutpada are as follows: ignorance, avidya. Ignorance is caused by desire. It is the substratum of actions and the basic of ego. Livelihood, ignorance causes the individual to think of himself as separate from the entire world. This leads to attachment to life and thus to suffering. Predispositions. Sankara is caused by ignorance. Predispositions means a disposition preceding to or preparing to certain activity. Also, it can be understood as the attitude and aptitude of the past karma. Samskara is also known as fabrication. There are three types of fabrication, namely bodily fabrications, verbal fabrications, and mental fabrication. Consequence has been Bijnana. Consequences is a cause by predispositions. There are six types of consequences, namely eye consequences, ear consequences, nose consequences, tongue consequences, body consequences, and intellect consequences, namely and form namarupa. It is the psychophysical body in the bomb of the mother caused by consequences. Sense organs. Sadayatana. The sense organs are caused by name and form. There are six sense organs such as the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the skin, and the mind. Contact Sports contact with the object of the enjoyment is caused by a sense organ. Sometimes it is said that the eye is due to seeing and not that seeing is due to the eye, and similarly in the case of very organ. Feeling or sensation. Vedana. Feeling and sensation is caused by contact with the object of enjoyment. Feeling and sensation is of six forms. Six forms such as vision, hearing, olfactory sensation. Gastatory sensation, tactile sensation, and intellectual sensation, thought. Craving, tarsa. The craving or thirst for enjoyment is caused by the actual experience or sensation of enjoyment. It is due to craving that a person blindly longs for worldly attachment. There are the six forms of craving, such as cravings with respect to forms, sounds, smells, taste, touch, and ideas. Attachment, engine upadana, the clanging, the sensory enjoyment is caused by the craving for such enjoyment. There are four types of clanging, namely sensual cling, clinging, view clinging, practice clinging, and self clinging. Becoming bhava, it is the will to be one caused by clinging or attachment. It includes thoughts and actions which are responsible for reward. There are these kinds of becoming, such as sensual becoming, for becoming, and formless becoming. Birth jati, birth also reward is caused by becoming bhava. The jiva is caught up in the will of the world and remains in it till it attains nirvana. It refers to not just to birth at the beginning of of lifetime, but to birth as a new person, which is the acquisition of a new status or position. Old age and death, the Jaramarana, old age and death are caused by birth. Rebirth cause the whole chain of the worldly sufferings after man is caught in the wheel of the world diseases, old age, suffering, death, etc. require the 12 links of the doctrine of development organization can be divided into three classes, namely the past, the future, and the present. Ignorance and predispositions are due to the past life. Consequences name are form, sense, organs, contact, feeling, craving, and clinging are connected to the present life. Finally, becoming birth and the old age and death of or of future life. 4.5 The doctrine of momentariness Karsanika Vada. According to Nikabada, everything is momentary, relative, conditional, and dependent. It is also known as doctrine of impermanence. Anitya Veda Buddhism teaches that the world and its objects are not permanent but momentary. The universe is a constant chain of change. The basis of the doctrine of momentariness is the doctrine of the dependent originations. Every object comes into existence from and instant conditions that give rise to the consequent object. It is comparable to the flame of a lamp, where the flame is merely the continuity of successive flames. The flames exist only for a moment, but it gives rise to the next flame. For Buddhists, the material world and its objects are not merely impermanent and transient, but they also exist only for a moment. This doctrine is ultimately to dissuade people from placing confidence in the world and persuade them to renounce it for the permanent status of nirvana. It averts two extremes, eternalism and nihilism. Thus, it is a middle path where the world is neither a being nor a non-being. The Buddhist philosophers have given several arguments in support of the doctrine of momentariness. Of these, the most important argument is known as Arthakriya Arthakriya Karitra. The argument from the power of generating actions according to this principle, whatever can produce. An effect has existence, and whatever can't produce an effect has an existence. It means that as long as thing has the power of produce an effect, it has existence, and when it cases to produce an effect, it existence also ceases. Cases again, one thing can produce only an effect if at one time a thing produces an effect and at the next moment another effect or no effect, that then the former thing cases to exist. 4 point, the doctrine of karma. The law of karma is that very event producing its effects, which in turn become causes of other effects, generating the karmic chain. The doctrine of dependent originations link karmic impressions from past existence and rebirth. These two links signify the propositions that the present existence of a man independent upon his past existence. The effect of his thoughts, words, and actions in the past life. Similarly, the future existence is dependent on the present existence. According to the law of karma, our present and future are neither cap, uh, capricious nor unconditional, but are conditioned by our past and present. 4.7, the doctrine of non-soul ananta. The doctrine of non-soul ananta is another important philosophical nation of Buddhism, which is a consequence of the doctrine of dependent origination. There is a belief in almost all the cultures and religions that there exists in man an eternal and permanent eternity, variously known as the soul, the self, or the spirit. According to Buddhism, one can't become aware of an unchanging entity called soul, and all one can become aware of when one thinks of oneself or soul is a sensation, in impression, or perception, or an image, or feeling, or an impulse. The Buddha analysis made into 5 groups: skandhas, namely from matter, feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. P. Reception, sight, smell, etc. Impulses, hate, greed, etc. And consequently, anything a man thinks he is or he has fall under one of these groups. The self or soul is simply an abbreviations for the aggregate of these skandhas, under some entity over and above the aggregate. Thus, there is so a distinct something known as a self. Also, there is a mistaken understanding that through the doctrine of Ananta, the Buddha denies many the man as a self or a soul. What the denies is the belief that there exists behind and beyond the skandhas, a self or a soul which is permanent and unchanging. Buddha acknowledges the changing self, but reject the unchanging substantial self. For details, refer to the title The Doctrine of No Soul Ananta in the chapter Buddhism as a Religion. 4.8, Philosophical schools of Buddhism. Since Buddha did not give answers to many of the wider philosophical issues, his followers tried to find answers to such questions. These attempts in turn gave to rise different philosophical directions and schools. The differences of opinion and doctrines emerged immediately after the death of Buddha. It is believed that there existed 30 such Buddhist philosophical schools, but only four of them survived and are traditionally known there as follows: the Vaivashika school. The Vaivashika derives its name from its exclusive emphasis on a particular commentary, the Havivasa of Abhidhamma in the Gaye. In the true spirit of the doctrine of dependent origination, the Vaivasika holds that reality is pure flux and change. change. This school belongs to Hinayana. The Vaivasika speaks about the existence of the mental and the non-mental realities. It teaches that we can really know the external entities and the and the world outside. This notion is known as Bhaya Pratyaka Bhada. The school holds on to pluralism, realism and nominalism. According to Bhavasika, the world is in reality as it appears to us. The ultimate constituents dharma of reality are the same as those which make up the world of our empirical experiences. They hold that the dharma is ultimate and independent our the consequences. Vaivasika is realism. Vaivasika is pluralism as it asserts dharmas distinct and irreducible. For Vaivasika, the reality is particular and is devoid of any universal unchanging entities. The Vaivasika can be considered as nominalism too. The Santratic school. The name of Santratic derived from the fact that it gives greater importance to the authority of the Sutra Patika of the Pali Canon. The school also belongs to Hinayana Buddhism. Sautantrika subscribes both the mental and the non-mental reality. The important difference between both these schools is that will the Vaisesika maintains a direct perceptions of the external objects. The Swatantrika holds the inference from the perceptions which are representations of external objects. The second important difference between the Sautantrika and Bhavasika is that unlike the Bhavasika, the Sautantrika distinguishes between the world as it appears to us, phenomena, and the world as it is in itself, nomina. His Sautantrika denies absolute, ultimate, and independent ontological status of dharma. Another point of disagreement between the Sautantrika and the Bhavasika is concerned with the nature of the relation between successive point in instant of existence. For the Bhavasika, the past, present, and future are equally real. The reason is that the present, which is admittedly real, can't be the effect of an unreal past and the chaos of an unreal future. Contrary to this, the Vaivasika's point is that the point instant, which has no duration, can't casually bring about its succeeding point instant. For the cause and effect can't be simulation. The Yoga Sakara school. This school belongs to Mahayana Buddhism. There are two different accounts of the origin of the name Yogacara of this school. According to one account, the followers of this school emphasized yoga critical inquiry along with the Akara conduct. According to the other, the adherents of this school, practiced yoga for the realizations of the truth. That reality is of the nature. The reality of this nature consequence is the core of the doctrine. The core of the doctrine of the Yogacara is that consciousness mind alone is ultimately real. The sectional objects are regarded as unreal for Yogacar. All internal and external objects are ideas for mind. Thus, it is impossible to demonstrate the independent existence of external objects. The philosophers of the school are known as the advocates of consciousness, uh, Vijnana Veda Yogacara offers another argument to deny the independent existence of the external object, which seems to be a criticism to the Tantrika and the Bhavasika. It argues that if there is an object outside, it must be divisible, partless, and atomic, or divisible and composite. If it is the former, it can't be perceived since us atoms are 2 minute. If it is a composite, we can't perceive all the parts and the sides of the object simultaneously. Thus in either cause the existence of the external object is based on the doctrine of momentariness. The Yogacara points out that since objects are not substances but duration less point instant, it is difficult to understand how a momentary object can be the cause of consequences. If it is the cause of consequences, there must be a time lapse between the arising object and our consequences of it. The Madhyamika school. This school also belongs to Mahayana Buddhism. The liberal meaning of the term Madhyamika is the father of middle way. The Madhyamika avoids all the extremes such as eternalism and annihilationism, self and non-self, matter and spirit, unity and popularity and plurality and identity and difference. The founder of this school is supposed to be Nagarjuna of the second century CE. Aryadeva Chandrakirti, Kumarajiva and Santideva are the other prominent figures of this school. One of the most important insights of Nagarjuna is the origin and nature of philosophy and philosophical or conflicts. For him, knowledge is the means by which man seeks to unity the self, and the other knowledge is propositional, and propositions are constituted of concepts, and concepts refer names, nama, and forms, rupa. Hence, the reality which philosophers create in their known is the reality of names and forms, and non-reality as it is in itself. The Madhyamika claims that concepts and conceptual systems are relative to each other. They can't stand by themselves and generate truths. Consequently, no system can claim absolute truth and validity. The truth of each system can be relative and partial. Nagarjuna teaches that it is absurd to speak about reality as true or false. Reality simply is the emptiness, sanyata of concepts does not entail the emptiness of the reality. Or the means by sanata is not that reality is non-existence or illusory, but only that it is devoid of any entities which we think. The Madhyamika claim that unlike the other three schools, their philosophy is very close to the teachings of Buddha. The notion of relatively and sunyata emptiness are none other than the doctrine of dependent origin, which Buddha emphasized. Nagarjuna brings the notion of two types of truths: the lower truth and higher truth. He calls the phenomenal truths as lower truth. Since we can't find any absolute truth in this world, all phenomenal truths are relative, conditioned, and valid within particular domains of our perceptual conceptual experience. The higher truth is beyond precepts and concepts infallible and defying all descriptions. It is absolute, supermundane and unconditional. It is grasped through initiative insight. 4.9 Later some of the aim of philosophy is to ultimately lead man to find the meaning of his life and existence. It is true to its core in the case of the philosophy of Buddhism. The Four Noble Truths and Buddha proposes touch the very existence of humans, which leads on to understanding the sufferings and miseries of life, and to go beyond to attain nirvana, a perfect state of happiness and bliss the and mysteries of life, and go to beyond to attain nirvana to and perfect of happiness and bliss. The eightfold path of Buddhism is more our daily guide for everyone to lead a virtuous life. The doctrine of Pratitasa Mutpada is a reasonable description about the cycle of human life. The doctrine of momentariness has profounded philosophical implications in the present scenario where people chase the momentary pleasures of the world without realizing its impermanence. Doctrine of non-self, or more precisely, the denial of a permanent soul would be unique notion of Buddhist philosophy. Apart from all this, we find a logical sequence in the entire philosophy where different ideas are mutually connected and related. The four noble my truths are Truths are the basis of Buddha's teachings and form this follow all other notions such as the eightfold path, eightfold path, doctrine of different organizations to doctrine of momentariness, the theories of karma, non-soul rebirth, etc. The various theories of the different philosophical schools are a direct evidence when you understand the richness of Buddhist philosophy and how seriously the study and the teachings of Buddha is carried out even today. Deeper and wider studies done on the various themes of
କାହିଁକି ନା ଖାଇଲେ ଉପକାରୀ ଲୋକ ମୋ ଗାଣ୍ଡିରେ ମାରିବ ହଁ ଶୋଇବ ନହେଲେ ମୁଁ ଶୋଇବି ମୋ ଘର ଫାଙ୍କା ପକେଇବି ନାହିଁ
karma, non-soul rebirth, etc. The various theories of the different philosophical schools are direct evidence to understand the richness of Buddhist philosophy and how seriously the study and the teachings of Buddha is carried out even today. Deeper and wider studies done on the various themes of this philosophy have explored the new horizons of the meaning it contains.
ତମର ମନେ ଥିଲା ନା ଦୁର୍ଗନ୍ଧ ଆଜି ନ ଶୋଇଛି ଆଉ 8 ଦିନ ପରେ ଶୋଇବି